inequality.
Yeah, I was watching the show yesterday, and Mike brought up this point about how what may be feeding a lot of this interest in the Donald Trumps and Ben Carsons of the world is economic anxiety, security, and all that. And I think in the context of 5.1% unemployment, which sounds great, we forget how Americans have done over the past decade or two. And so what I thought I would do is just show you a bit of how Americans have done. So this first chart goes back to 1993, goes back to the Clinton years. So we have Clinton, Bush, Obama years. And what you see is that the top 1% have seen their incomes, and this is adjusted for inflation, go up 62% over that period.
So what are the peaks? Let's hit the first peak and valley of the top 0.01%. When was it?
Well, if you want to talk about the top 0.01%, they've actually doubled their income.
But let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back. They had a peak in the dot-com bubble in 2000.
Okay.
They had a peak before the last recession, and then they've been coming back since then. But if you look at over this continuum, they've doubled. But here's the important point. The important point is that the people at the bottom 90%, so 90% of all Americans have gotten essentially no pay increase for 22 years.
Come on now.
90% have gotten no pay increase for 22 years. And if you pull that 90% apart, you'd find that the bottom half of that has done even worse. So you've got the people at the top making a minimum of $6.5 million in this 0.01%, 16,000 Americans doubling their pay, while the average American is at zero.
So what we've been saying here for some time about real wages have been flat.
That's the point.
Since 1972.
Yeah, not quite. We have another chart which will show you what's happened to average wages. And so you can see that back in 2000, the average American family made a little over $57,000. And again, this is adjusted for inflation. Then and they just were sort of staggering along at nothing, at break even. Then comes the financial crisis, and down they go all the way to 52,000. There's some data that suggests they've come back a bit, but it's not clear. This is early data. It's not clear Americans feel it in their pocketbook yet. So again, you have a case that over the past 15 years, the average American has lost $2,000, roughly 5% of their income, even if these most recent numbers turn out to be true.
And Chuck, if you look at this chart and you look at the last chart, I don't know if we can go back to the last chart, but you go back to the first chart that we showed, where the bottom, the bottom 90%, that's just extraordinary. 9 out of 10 Americans have flatlined over the past 20 years, while the rich have become extraordinarily richer. That explains so much in American politics this year.
Well, it does, and it also explains why, by the way, we're now, I think, on year 12 straight years where a majority of the country believes we've been headed in the wrong direction. 12 straight years. This is not, sometimes you sit there and everybody's going, well, boy, how come we didn't see Trump or Sanders coming? Okay, you didn't see the individuals coming, but my God, the American public's been screaming about their frustration, about their anxiety for over a decade now, and at some point it was going to blow up American politics, and maybe that's what we're experiencing right now. And by the way, I would add with Trump, particularly with, I think, the Trump phenomenon and the folks that are attracted to it. So when you have this economic stagnation and this economic anxiety, and then, oh, by the way, middle America feels as if, oh, and the country's changing culturally so fast, this is where I think the backlash, you throw it all into this stew, and this is why this backlash is happening.
And you also, Chuck, add to that it's very rare in public life, people in public life, politicians today, can manage to articulate and express the sense of rage, frustration, and anger that is out there in this country, because they keep to the middle class, although the definition, I think Steve would bear me out on this, the definition of what encompasses the middle class has changed drastically over the last 2 decades. You have people now living on the edge where everything around them goes up. Their health insurance premiums, their property taxes, their car insurance bills, and their pay raise, when they get one, comes in the form of decreasing gas prices. So they're paying half of what they paid for gasoline today than they were 3 years ago. They view that now as a pay raise, and nobody in public life, or very few people in public life, can manage to articulate this frustration.
100%.
I mean, I think I think Sanders is trying, I think Trump is trying, but I think you're right, and I think that this is where the distrust comes from.
So, Chuck Todd, thank you. Just for you, a little look at something that you mentioned earlier in this segment.
Oh.
Can we bring it up, Alex? Did you find it?
You know what things cost today. High prices are just driving me crazy.
Yes, my Mamie gets after me about the high cost of living. It's another reason why I say it's time for a change. Time to get back to an honest dollar and an honest